Happy New Year.
Robbie, can you fix that and coordinate it in post?
Nope, absolutely not.
Coordinated
Absolutely not.
enough
That was
for me.
great.
All right.
It was Habibis level coordinated.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
One of us was on Arab timing.
That's true.
It's just so perfect. I'm glad we're starting.
We're starting the year tradition.
This is how it goes.
How it goes.
Yeah.
This is it. This is it.
I'm your host for today, Falvin Esmar.
And nice.
I was Salvadorius.
And I'm
happens to be.
And this is the
first episode
ever. The first ever episode of the Habibis podcast, which is 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea. The first episode in a year that is not 2021.
True. New beginnings.
It's never happened before.
Wow, that's mind blowing. I'm going to have to start a new Google sheet to keep track of what games we're playing for next year's top 10 list.
Oh yeah, I'm wrapping up on my top 10 list. I was pretty happy with the top 10 list.
That's a good list
that we made.
I loved it. That was very representative.
I also like that we managed to agree on how we're doing this while we're recording, and it was still
on the fly
okay to listen to.
Yeah, I listened back to it as well. It was like it got a little politicky at some point. Some trading favors, some offers you can't refuse in there, but
that weren't refused anyway. So
yeah, they were refused anyway. I love the part where y'all were like, "Oh, we don't care which one goes first place," and I'm like, "Well, I care," and then both of you were like, "Actually, we care."
If he's gonna care, I'm gonna
well,
care.
Now we know.
I'm not gonna let them one up me on this one.
Yeah. I was listening to that and I was like, you both of you just going like, I don't care. I'm like, wait, that's not how this ends. I know how this episode ends. I was there. I recorded this. That is not what's going to happen. I had like a narrator voice in the back of my head going like, they did care.
Yeah. Honest truth, all those games that made it to our top 10 were fantastic. Any one of them could have been.
Yeah, I'm finishing my top 10 list, the written list this year, and it's a little different from the one that we ended up with. Obviously, a lot of overlap. So I'm guessing my game of the year is not going to be a surprise for anybody, given the episodes. No. So, all right, you want to know a funny thing that I've never told anybody, but I guess if I say it on the podcast now, everybody will know.
Okay.
So I write a Game of the Year list for Giant Bomb every year, right? And I think I've been doing that since probably 2016. And every year so far, Destiny has won my Best Multiplayer Award. And every year, I've copy-pasted the exact same text and just changed a few details to make it fit
just for
the new year.
Here or there,
and nobody has ever pointed it out.
It's just
exactly. It's like I just changed what the campaign is. But it's the exact same text every year, except for a few details, and nobody has ever noticed.
This is such a Rami play. I am not surprised at all. And
I have to go back and copy paste it.
I bet you a small handful of people figured it out and were like, "Yep, that's Rami," and just didn't say anything.
Yep, they were like, "Yep, that seems right. That seems right."
I love it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Destiny is winning Best Multiplayer this year for me as well. And you can kind of imagine what the text is going to be by reading the text of any previous year.
Should we just give Rami his 5 minutes of Destiny already? Or is it like, a reoccurring segment?
I finally played the new dungeon of Destiny.
Tell me and Osama about this.
It's very good.
Yes, please.
It's very good. It has nothing to do with the horse. It's actually a pirate-themed dungeon. You play it with 3 players, as you do all dungeons in Destiny. And really fun mechanics. It's really silly, just like everything for the 30th anniversary. There's an entire segment where you're shooting yourselves out of a giant cannon and then hitting a shield and shooting things. And then there's good boss fights, good momentum, really good scenario design. It's just it's really good. So I'm just gonna let this be a very long, awkward silence again. And then, thanks, guys. This is the most depressing segment of the podcast for me.
Well, you're usually still talking about Destiny at this point.
Did you both go and grab some new tea? Is that what happened?
I was like, oh,
I feel bullied.
Destiny 5 minutes. Oh, but I have Bluetooth headsets, so I was listening to you. You know, it's horses and pirates and stuff. Sounds great, Rami.
I love it.
Whenever you two find a game that you love as much as Destiny, I'm just going to be silent. That's it.
Honestly, I wish I could look at a game the way you look at Destiny, Rami.
Yeah, you could if you played more Destiny. Then Fauci would be the only uncomfortable silence here.
I watched a movie I'd like to talk about.
That's very nice for you, Osama. Okay,
it's on
Fauci, what did you do this week?
It's on theme. I want to talk about it.
I want to talk about lots of things. I'm just going to grab some tea. Okay, you two.
No, get back here. So I'm going to start talking about my movie anyway. Okay, it's called Don't Look Up.
I've watched it.
Have either of you watched it?
It's a new DiCaprio movie.
So yes, it absolutely is. And sadly, it's on theme. I wish it was completely a work of fiction, but I found it to be, well, okay. So the synopsis a little bit, what happens is some really brilliant scientists discover that a comet is heading towards Earth. And they try to tell, they're in the United States, so they try to tell the United States government specifically about it. And people kind of don't take them seriously about a really, really big threat, like potentially world-ending threat. And it was incredibly uncomfortable to see how the media reacts, how the population reacts, how the government reacts. I found it a brilliant, well-executed movie that I had a very hard time watching because of how ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that the cast of the movie is just incredible. Like they're all like heavyweight Oscar nominees or winners. Incredible actors and actresses. Like the cast was just it's insane, star-studded characters that you believe because the actors are just so good. I thoroughly enjoyed. Like it was one of those movies that are funny but also sad because they're funny at the same time. Like the subject matter is depressing because it's so relatable. But at the same, the take on it is so is the comedy behind it has a lot of like jokes that can land in a way that I kind of enjoyed a lot. I think that the thing that kind of took me out of the movie sometimes is that it's a little bit too U.S. centric, in which like it kind of almost feel like the U.S. is the only country that can deal with whatever disaster that is heading towards our planet, or it's the.
Yep, I noticed that, and it grated on me. But like at this point in Hollywood, the sad truth is, so many movies set themselves up this way that it's like it's so uncomfortable. I don't like it all. But
I totally could see why and all of this. But I think
China was mentioned like offhand briefly at one point. And maybe Russia, and it was like 2 times in the whole movie. Like, there is a rest of the world. We haven't forgotten, but that was
surely one of those. Like another country would have done something, without spoiling any of the events. But another country would have intervened or did something in a more realistic scenario. But since this is satire, we'll look past that and I think the message is what's important. So, like, I think overall enjoyed it. Like, very enjoyable movie, I would say.
Absolutely. I still like highly recommend it, even if it's an uncomfortable watch.
Yeah, it's good. It's good as well. Right? There's a lot of like the Oscar-nominated movies are now coming out. There's a bunch on Netflix that I want to watch, so I'll probably be mentioning a bunch of those in the weeks to come. There's like the power of the dog. I think got a lot of nominations, and it's on Netflix. So I'll report back once I've seen more of these movies. But it's good. Like there's a lot of good quality content coming out now.
You know what? I'll do the same. I'll take that list and we'll watch it and we'll give.
That sounds like fun.
And if Rami ever comes back from having tea, we can invite him to do the same.
I have tea. What movie were we talking about?
There you are.
I've been back for a minute, but all I heard was something about really good actors, and I'm like, okay, that sounds.
That
sounds good.
Performances and Don't Look Up were fantastic.
Don't Look Up. Yes, I watched that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Good. So we all three of us watched it, but you weren't.
What's your take, Ron?
No, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It's hard to watch a movie. It's hard to watch a movie that is so blunt.
Yeah,
it's very blunt.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, y'all. So we're gonna be funny, but also we're gonna hit you in the face repeatedly for the entire length of this movie. I don't know if I like the way they wrapped it up, but I enjoyed the movie overall. I don't know. Like it did the thing where I'm always one of you must have brought this up, right? This movie is this movie is very like USA.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Yes. Then we share thoughts.
No wonder.
Yep.
We started a podcast again.
Good. This movie. Yeah, we all agree. Okay. Yes. Next topic.
Yes.
No, I mean, it's nice that somebody made a movie like that. I'll be honest. I'm not sure it's going to work. I'm just going to guess the reviews are basically going to be split in two: people who already agreed with it and people who already disagreed with it. Don't think it's going to change anybody's mind.
I imagine over Christmas, a lot of people may be like, "Hey, aunt, you really should watch this movie," or "Hey, uncle, how about we sit together and watch this movie?" Right. I don't know about, maybe we can have a fun discussion afterwards. Probably, yeah.
This will be great. It's going to be so exciting.
So what I looked up the reviews after watching it, because I was curious about the same thing. What I noticed, what surprised me, I noticed that critical reception was poor and public reception was actually better than I expected, hovering around the 80% type percentile. Well, I was expecting the exact opposite. I would have figured that critical reception would have been like, this movie has a message, it's really strong performances, that it would have been really high. And I think that's very telling about. That's even scarier. Stop to think about.
I guess.
There's some aspects of the movie making of that movie that I think are worth criticizing. Like the point that Rami brought up. There's plot holes and that kind of stuff. Like the satire kind of falls flat at some points too. So.
It lacks subtlety
exactly.
Too. Like,
there's no subtlety in some of those points. There's some character building kind of drops in some areas. So, I think, there are some critiques from a movie making point of view that are worth making, but overall enjoyable. I think the message is important in this day and age. But like Rami mentioned, this probably the audience of the movie is already divided by now.
Right. Yeah. It's good that it exists. Let's see. What else? What else did we do?
I watched another movie.
No, you go ahead, Osama. I'm watching a lot of movies over the holidays, Osama.
So I watched it. It's Encanto. Is that the new type movie? Yeah. I watched it with my kids and absolutely loved it. I thought it was they enjoyed it, which is usually my barometer of how good it is for the most of the target audience. But I also actually was invested. One thing is, I don't know how they did it, but the animation feels like a huge step up from other Disney.
Wow, that's a high bar already.
And that, I mean, they're already incredible, right? But there's a lot of singing and dancing, especially in this movie. And the dancing was so well animated. It was incredible. And it was consistent. And I loved it. The facial expressions, it's like they leveled up on the face. I couldn't help myself but feel whatever the person over and over and over. It's as pushing the craft forward, that movie was phenomenal. I was very, very surprised. In terms of the story was really good. It had a good message. It was a little odd at times, but not in a bad way. But the message was really, really strong, family-centric message, and had a lot of subtlety to it as well, to the themes. So that was really good. Overall, I just recommend. I'm curious to see what y'all will think when you eventually watch it. 'Cause I assume you like the Pixar stuff too.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I think it also got nominated Golden Globes and stuff like that for animated pictures. So it's on my list of stuff I need to check out. I watched.
So, I go ahead.
No, you wanted to say something first, so finish the thought.
No, I was going to say that's it for me for movies. Go ahead.
I got the cue. Only a second too late. Or too early. I watched a bit of The Witcher, the new season. I don't know if you guys been following the show at all.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
So I have an asterisk next
Okay.
to my yes because it's kind of one of those movies I like. I kind of enjoyed the first season. A lot of people loved it like crazy. I thought it was pretty good, and I kind of lost a little in the second season. Watched it while working or things on the side. So I'm not 100% sure what's happening.
No, it's okay. Where do you guys stand on The Witcher 3, the game? What do you think? Have you played it?
I was one of the people who dropped out after the Bloody Baron quest.
Yeah.
Which I think is like the most common drop-off point for The Witcher 3. Not because the quest is bad, but because the quest is really good and really intense, and then the game goes, and now drive across the entire country for the next 25 minutes.
So I did the drive around the entire country, and I started the arc just after, and that's when I fell off because it slowed down, like Rami said, a lot. But the other thing is, I actually think that game is very unbalanced. I absolutely love the missions and the storytelling. Like the mission design is some of the best in games, period. And I don't like the 3Cs. I don't like the movement. I don't like the combat at all. So like when they force me to travel for a really long time on horseback and engage in fights, I lost. If this was like a talking simulator type RPG, I would have played it like nonstop. That's the good part, you know.
I thought that I'm also very similar to you guys. Like I didn't dislike that lull in the game at that point. I think it's like many people gone through that point. But Witcher 3, I think, just raised the level of expectations and ambitions of open world RPGs. I guess across the board when it came out, it's like a monumental technical achievement. And like amazing writing as you mentioned, Osama, but also like a little bit like you. I always felt that there's room for the combat to deliver on the Witcher fantasy, which is kind of starts off as a detective to some extent, trying to figure out what is this beast that you're about to slay. Then do the research in terms of like what potions or ointments do you need to like really get the edge up in combat, and then go and execute. But a lot of times you just went in with swords blazing, and it worked anyway. But that notion of The Witcher I really like as a lore, and I think this is why I really gravitated toward the first season, because I'd never read the books. Like I wouldn't claim that I have. So I think that the show really kind of like explores this a lot about the story of what a Witcher is, and like the lore behind them, and like there's some nudges to the game here and there. And I've watched a bunch of the second season, and it just continues on the first one. So like if you like the first season, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy what the second season has to offer. So watching a bunch of this, I'll tell you what I think about the entire season once I'm done with it. But like so far so good. So far for me, it just continues what the first season started, and I enjoyed the first season. So that was pretty good.
Right.
I also played the go ahead.
Funny thing,
before I talk about my video game.
Just a little aside. We're also watching, me and my wife, The Wheel of Time, and I didn't like it, and I wanted to. It's not that I wanted to stop, but I would have stopped. But like, I was surprised. Actually, she likes it. Usually, I'm into the more sci-fi or fantasy stuff, but she liked The Wheel of Time, so we continued watching it. But we watched The Wheel of Time and The Witcher kind of like back and forth, and I'm half paying attention to both. So I kept mixing them up in my mind, like expecting a character from one to jump into the other. So I don't recommend doing that.
Very specific advice, but I love
it. They're not exactly the same, but they're like they overlap enough that going back and forth, I got confused. Whenever a new character was introduced, I'd have to just pause and be like, "Wait, what are we watching again? I don't know which world." I
almost want to watch it to kind of like see those similarities. I almost want to do this.
It's not my favorite new show.
Okay.
Apparently the fans are really enjoying it because it's giving life to their characters. But apparently people who don't have an attachment to the books feel that it's really rushed. I share that sentiment. It just feels like too many things are happening back to back to back, and it's not giving it time to care. Like I just don't care about the characters. That's a big one. But it's like 20. How many books? Like it's like a dozen books, 20 books. Wow. There's like a lot of books that they're trying to condense in a short period of time. Undo. It's not doable.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't read the books either, so it'll be
Neither have I. Yeah.
I played a bit more of that Shin Megami Tensei. Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Oh yeah, okay.
Ooh.
So you're 4% into the game now, right? 70
Something
hours.
like that. The funny thing happened is, like, as I was playing this game, a family member was looking at the game, and then she asked me, "What year did this game come out?" And I was like, "It just came out 2021." I was like, "Oh, okay." Really? It does have that thing around it, like, it looks like, it's in every way it's a traditional Shin Megami Tensei, like, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into going in, and I just went in anyway, and here I am. you know
How do you like it so
I
far?
like it like I like all these other. I think it's a bit like, maybe it's me wanting to have to spend less time in games so I can try other things, but it's a bit too grindy for my taste. But the classic formula of collecting those I don't know, personas, if you may, and, like, combining them, getting their skills, leveling them up, leveling yourself up, go through the story, all of that. It's still there. It's pretty good. I have some issues with the frame rate. I think it drops
Okay.
sometimes. Like, it's low across the board as you're playing the game. But yeah, it's also kind of like, I tend to expect that at this point with some of these narratives. Well, yeah, you try, you battle these monsters, you try to catch them, you try to convince them to join you, or bribe them to join you. It's like, JRPG with Pokemon and that kind of stuff. I like it. It's totally my cup of tea. But yeah, it's the formula is kind of starting to show its age, I think. So I don't know if it'll bring in newcomers to the series, but, like, for fans, they will find what they're looking for there. Rami, have you played any of those games before?
I played Shin Megami Tensei and Persona, and they're long.
They're very long.
They're very long. They vary between worth my time and not worth the time. That's kind of really that's really it with SMT, and I think Persona is more consistent for me. Where at the end I always feel like, okay, this was worth it, and SMT less so. Every now and then I'm like, okay, I guess that's a thing that could happen. But they're impressive games just for the sheer, like, scope and skill and narrative frequency. So
it's been a while. The last time I played SMT was 3DS, the fourth one.
Right.
I forget when that game came out. It must have been, I don't know, 2013 or something like that. Yeah, so it's been quite some time. Yeah, so 5 feels a lot like that one. So yeah, so I think it's because of the time. If I played Shin Megami Tensei 4 a couple of years ago, I don't think I would have jumped back in for this one. But this one I was like, oh, it's been a while. Let's check this out.
And then you're halfway through and you're like, oh, it's
yeah, I mean, like 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
5 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, this place again. Yeah.
This is what's happening. But then halfway through, you're like, oh yeah, and these games are long.
Yeah, they're all like around 50 hours or so. So they're not Persona 5. Like they're smaller games.
They feel
because
longer,
they're grindier.
Though.
Like the content
really
is not like Persona 5, in which, like, each dungeon, like on 5 especially, was more handcrafted, and the story feeds you for like over 120 hours in some cases. And this one, like, one dungeon, you might need to go back and forth a bunch of times to find the abilities you need to beat the boss, or you need to level up, or random encounters could just, like, take a bit more time.
But yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, you come out of Persona game, you always feel like you got your time's worth, and with SMT, I'm not sure I always feel that way. Especially not at the end of a session, But yeah, I don't know. I haven't touched 5 yet.
If you played 4, then you know what you're getting into. Yeah, it's a good SMT.
Okay. I played some games.
Oh.
So I played. I finished Golden Sun 1.
Oh.
On my new analog pocket. That device is brilliant.
Man, it's been so long since I played that game.
It's called an analog pocket.
Yeah, it's an analog pocket. It's basically there's this company called Analog that makes like high-end design versions of old consoles, and they did a Game Boy.
Oh, nice. Advance.
So it's a Game Boy. It's a Game Boy Advance. It plays all the original cartridges. It is not an emulator. It does not play emulated games. It only plays like cartridges. But it does it on a much better screen, great audio. It has a dock so you can connect it to TV and play with a wireless controller.
Wow.
It can save state. It can save off of cartridge, and it plays all original games to mostly to good degree. So
it
almost
looks
flawless.
good. I'm looking at
it's
wow, beautiful. It's a good looking console. That's amazing.
So yeah, I played all of Golden Sun, and that game is as good as I remember, maybe even a little better. It's more compact than I remember. It's smaller. I remember that game being huge because the last time I played it, I was like,
when did that game come out? 2003? 2002?
2001.
Yeah, that's a long time. I remember loving that game.
And it is very good. It is very good. The Jin system is still brilliant.
The story was pretty amazing as well. Isaac was the character's name, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Isaac. Yep. Isaac, Garrett, Yvonne, and Mia.
Wow. Yeah.
And Yvonne can do mind read, so they had to write the 2 lines of dialogue for most characters. Because you can both talk to them, but then also read their mind.
That's right. Yes, there's the mind reading part. Man, that game was good.
Mind reading part. Yeah, that game was very good, and I can recommend playing it again. And then I wanted to start on the Lost Age, but it turns out the Analog Pocket has issues with the Lost Age. So until they patch their chipset, I can't play the Lost Age. For New Year's in the Netherlands, we have a lockdown, but you can have 2 visitors. So I had 2 friends over, and we played all of WarioWare for the Game Boy.
For Game Boy Advance.
And that game,
classic
for the Game Boy Advance on the TV using the analog dock, and WarioWare is very good. And then I played the intro of Dragon Ball Z Legendary Super Warriors, which is a Game Boy Color Dragon Ball Z card game. It's a deck builder from like 19 something, I guess.
Does it hold up?
It is still, is it a good game? I don't know. Does it have the entire Dragon Ball Z story in there as a card game? It does. So I can't tell you whether it's good because I played this as a kid and I loved it as a kid. So now when I'm playing it, I'm just smiling. I'm currently in the first hours of a game called Monkey Puncher, which was another favorite Game Boy Color game of mine that we got on a black market in Egypt somewhere. And Monkey Puncher is a game where you train a monkey to box.
Okay.
By going running with it and teaching it how to skip rope and teaching it how to punch a punching bag and teaching it how to do sit-ups and having it go shopping and then basically training it. And the interesting thing about the game is that you have 3 days where you can do 2 exercises, and then at the end of the 3rd day there's a boxing match against another monkey. And you don't control the monkey in the boxing match. So it just basically acts based on what you taught it and how you taught it and what you prioritized in your training. So it's basically sort of like an AI nudging game. It's like Tamagotchi if Tamagotchi went like Fight Club. And I really enjoy Monkey Puncher. I don't know what it is. It's like it both scratches the Tamagotchi itch and the let's try and train this creature to be very good at something. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And then we also played Rock Band a lot, which they're still updating.
Which Rock Band?
The one just Rock Band, whatever the PlayStation 4. Not Guitar Hero, Rock Band, right? Yeah. So I own the drums and the microphone and the guitars, and they basically come out for New Year's every year. Normally I have more people. Last year there was no party. This year there wasn't really a party either. We were old friends, but we still went and played Rock Band, and that was. But they're still adding songs to that. I did not expect that.
Interesting.
And then finally we played Jackbox.
Which party pack now? Is it 7? 8?
We're at 8. Yeah, and 8 has a drawful, where you have to do the drawing thing that is animated, so you draw 2 frames.
Ooh,
that's pretty good, I will say. But there was one I'd never heard of in Party Pack 7 that is now probably my favorite. It's called Talking.
Of course, it's your favorite. It's PowerPoint the game.
Yes. So basically, people get writing prompts, and then those writing prompts go to everybody else, and then everybody picks a writing prompt, give a presentation about.
Yep.
And then you've got your presenter, but the presenter also gets another player randomly assigned as an assistant. And then the assistant is basically creating the presentation on the fly as the presenter is presenting it. And the assistant can pick like all these weird images, like a golf cart that's like toppled over, or a guy staring out of a raining window, and so the one person is trying to give a talk, and then the slide just continues to the next thing, and it's just like a golf cart that's fallen over.
You have to make
just
it work.
kind of have to, yeah, you have to kind of make the presentation work, and the audience can kind of like upvote and downvote as you're going. And then at the end, you've given a presentation. I gave a presentation about why you should not eat the yellow snow.
It was one slide,
and yeah, one of the no, it was the normal slide progression. I think it's like 11 slides or 12 slides, and yeah, it was quite difficult, I will say.
Yeah,
but I managed. One of the images I got was an orange, and I was like, also don't eat any snow that is orange. Just for reference, I put something orange on the screen for those of you who don't know orange. Yeah, you just kind of have to talk your way through the whole thing, and then try to do it in a funny way as well.
So I actually love that specific Jackbox game. Like Talking Points is really good, but I played it with a group that after trying it once, many people were like, "I'm not playing that. That's too anxiety." And like, and people you wouldn't expect. You're like, "What? You do a little bit of public speaking?" Like, yeah, no, I can't. I need to prepare for my talks. It's like, yeah, it like it does something to some people where it's a lot of anxiety.
The one that always gets me, I think it's in Party Pack 3 or 4, but it's the one where one of you is pretending to know the assignment.
Yes, me too.
Oh. I can't do that one.
I
can't do that one. I don't remember, but I cannot do that one.
Me too. It's the one where you don't get the prompt, everyone does, but like you have to like it's like how many times have you thrown up in public, and you have to put up your fingers, and and you don't know what the prompt is, so everybody else knows, and they're putting up 1, 2, or 0, and you're there with 10 fingers up, and like saying, "Oh no, what did I do?"
I can't do it. I can't do it.
I have a hard time with that one.
I'm not a good liar, so whenever that happens, it's like it's a problem.
I'm the worst liar by far, because even when I'm telling the truth, I smile and giggle, and people think I'm bluffing. So people always pick me as traitor, regardless of what happens.
We should play some Among Us.
I'm horrible at Among Us, horrible at it. But I will play.
That's why I want to play Among Us with you.
Yeah, my kids love playing with me. They always know.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just instantly airlog their dad. Like, bye.
Always the first time. I'm sus by default.
Amazing. So that's the games I played.
I mostly played tabletop simulator games with friends online, because we can't have board game night. We have a lockdown and a curfew in Montreal. So
curfew as well.
Yeah, 10 p.m. curfew.
Brutal.
So I live kind of far from my friends, which is far. So we just said, you know what, forget it. So we did a lot of board games online. There's with a group of friends that have kids of similar age, we played on GatherTown. They set up some, like, it's kind of a version of Drawful, a version of whatever, but where you could play it in GatherTown. GatherTown's like a virtual place where it looks like an old school 2D RPG with pixel art. You could walk around, and it does video chat if you're in proximity to people. Nice. But you could also set it up with tables that if you sit down at, you could all play together. So you could even play like Tetris, multiplayer Tetris. So we did that, and then I did Tabletop Simulator. I played Magic the Gathering. There's a really cool mod that lets you import your deck list, so you could actually play with the real cards that you own in the game, which was really cool. I played other board games, random board games that we already had. We looked for mods in the Steam's workshop, and you're just able to play them. I'm a huge fan of Tabletop Simulator already. I teach my class with it. When my class when it went from in person to online, I looked at all the options, and tabletop was by far the best. So, and we just make non-digital board games in tabletop. And the point is, don't script, because this is like supposed to simulate, non-digital. That's the intention of this class. So it's actually very, very popular with people who are making games for the first time, and they still have something somewhat digital that they can share with their. That's a cool tip, Osam. Actually, I might get to use that.
at some point.
See, Osama gets a silence, and then you go, "It's a cool tip." I get a silence, and then you go, "Like that's cool."
I was actually,
I hear
contemplating what you were saying because, like, once my class went, went remote, we've been struggling with the physical game assignments. So this is a cool idea.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it works really well.
Rami wants.
I'm just getting owned this.
Rami's bitter.
Rami
He's
wants
mad.
his feedback just now,
2022
immediately. It's better served cold, Rami.
This is my. No. Arabs don't do cold. They don't do cold revenge. That's not how Arabs do. That's not how we do.
Revenge is best served hot.
I'm just gonna put I'm just gonna edit long silence to this.
Oh no!
That's gonna happen. That's just the whole thing. 15
if you want to help
us
fill the silences, you can send us an email to info@habibis.com.
Speaking
nice.
Email.
Nice.
Osama can read them on the air to us, just like he's going to do now.
Before we do that, real quick, Fauzi, did you have a good New Year's?
I did. It was pretty good.
Good. That's all I wanted to know. I just Osama talked about his, I talked about mine, so I just wanted to make sure you had a good night.
That's very thoughtful of you. Yeah, it's just pretty good. It's pretty good considering. Hopefully next year, it'll be much better for a lot of people around.
Inshallah. Oh, and before we go, this week has another. By the time this is out, it's already happened for the first time, but. Another exciting thing, I'm starting on my theory classes for my pilot's license.
Wow, so that's awesome.
I'm going to class, which is weird because I dropped out of uni to not have to go to class. And here I am 12 years later going to class. Yeah. Ultimately, yeah. So I'm going to start with the meteorology, so weather, and I'm kind of excited to go to class and be taught stuff
that's cool.
that I don't know.
I'm kind of curious about what kind of stuff you'll end up learning. So I would be keen to hear those kind of stuff on the podcast.
Instead of Destiny, okay, I got
anything instead of Destiny.
Look, he's got a basket. He's going to pretend he's talking about his class, and he's just going to throw in Destiny lore in there. And then a Space Horse showed up.
Wow!
So you got these cumulonimbus clouds, and if you look at this cloud, it looks vaguely like a horse, like in Destiny.
Oh no!
These segues. Oh my god.
Yes. Speaking of segues,
this cloud looks like an email.
I love this.
All right, I'm gonna run with that. That was good.
Go.
So we got an email from one of our listeners, Susan, and Susan says, "Hello, Habibis. First, I wanted to say thank you so much for all you do in the industry and for hosting such a great podcast. I'm learning a lot from all three of you."
Thank you.
That's so kind of you, Susan. Thank you. So I did have a question for you. Do you think game design is changing in response to the likelihood games will be streamed and played live for an audience? The example that inspired my question is Jackbox, which now has mini games specifically for the audience to keep busy while streamers and performers are doing the central task. They've become more complex and even built in a streamer mode for that purpose. I guess that's more of a party game, and I'm wondering if you see this as a big impact on the game development at large.
You want to know the funniest thing? When you said Susan, I went and checked the email because the person I played that dungeon with yesterday, one of them was also called Susan, and it's the same Susan.
Whoa!
So just so you because both of the people I was playing with were in the Habibis podcast Discord, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, is this the same Susan? It's the same Susan, which means that silence is just very mean to our readers at the start of the podcast.
Oh no!
It's very, very, very bad. Very bad, Osama. Come on.
Okay, we'll shorten it by like 3 seconds, okay?
3 seconds, because there is more than 3 seconds of silence. SubhanAllah.
This is a compromise. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So how about an answer for Susan?
Okay. Yeah, game design has changed.
Yes.
Right? I think it already has. I think this is not a thing that just started. I think has there been any design process in the past like 5 years where nobody went like, how does this stream?
No, there absolutely hasn't. Like UI, especially when it comes to UI and UX designers, they're considering it in their wireframes all the time. Like, how will this look with an overlay? Are we giving options where you could move things around so that the streamer's overlay doesn't overlap with this info or that piece? And you'll little things like that you don't necessarily notice because the setup happens off camera. But they are possible. I'm not saying every game does this. Of course not. There's no standard that every game follows. But these considerations are taken in mind. Jackbox is ahead of the curve in a lot of things. So if they're doing this now, I bet you other people are looking at it and seeing what they can include. Let's also keep in mind that I don't know if this applies to the patent, but up until recently, there was a patent that didn't allow people to put mini games in loading. So depending on how that patent was interpreted, maybe I'm not a lawyer, but I could see maybe there was also a legal reason why that's have a manifest. It was Namco who had the patent. That's why you only saw it. Like Soul Calibur had a Asteroids game before you start fighting during loading. Also, loading is almost not a thing.
Yeah,
anymore.
all Tekken games did that as well.
Exactly.
If you are a lawyer and you think Osama was just full of bollocks on that one, like, please email us at info@thehabibis.com.
As long as you're a Canadian lawyer. If you're an American lawyer or even from elsewhere, then what the hell? Why? Oops. I mean.
So that's Osama's legal talk there.
Yeah.
Some Osama legal talk.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one in. That's
don't
good.
do that. Oh no!
I'll bleep it out with a long silence.
Oh no! Okay, what have I done? Thank you, Susan.
Wow! Wow!
I'm kidding.
Can't go for the right.
I'm of course just kidding.
This 2022 energy is very different from our normal wholesome energy.
We had a very good New Year's.
Yeah. It was a good New Year's. I'm excited for 2022. I really am.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
This is my year. You two can participate too, but this is my year.
Oh my god!
I feel like I'm some sort of AI in Osama's like simulation now. This is some Matrix level stuff.
Let's see what.
I'm in a mood. I didn't have my tea today.
We should drink less tea and see what happens in the year of Osama. Yeah.
Oh no.
We'll keep track of this year and just bad stuff that happens. We'll just blame Osama because it's his year.
Yeah,
so he can fix it.
It's like Mr. Osama and Dr. Hub, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dr. Hub. Yeah. That's how it's gonna go. Wow, yeah. I think we're gonna keep this a short one because I actually have stuff I have to do today. I'm out of time.
No.
First episode of the year, so we could call this a wrap, and we'll see you next week for a new episode of the Habibi in another installation in the year of Osama. No one knows.
Send us
the year of
what's in
Osama.
store for us. So fingers crossed.
Inshallah khair.
But for the time being,
Salam, beautiful people.
What's the worst that could happen?
Last words.
Salam.
Salam.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I am Fawzi Masmar, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Fawzi Masmar. My fellow Habibis were Osama Dorias, who you can find on Twitter at Osama Dorias, and Rami Ismail, who you can find on Twitter at THA_Rami. Send us your questions, stories, and suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Handi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcasting service, or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening. Salam.